Hello, my dear young students. Welcome back to Math 7. So, we are again continuing with the solution of the previous year's question papers, CBSE 9th standard math questions. Okay, so we have a problem on polynomials. We're asked to factorize this particular polynomial, a cubic polynomial, x cubed plus 13x squared plus 32x plus 20. So when you have a cubic polynomial, I think we need to start with a trial and error method because we need to find out at least one root of this polynomial and then we can proceed with the solution. So let's try how to find out the first root of this polynomial. This is p of x. So if p of x equal to 0, then we say x is a root of that particular equation. So how do we find the first root? Okay, now this is p of x. So since all the terms are positive, the root has to be negative, because if you substitute x equal to positive number, you will only get a positive answer, right? But we want 0 as the answer. Okay, so let p of x equal to 0. If p of x equal to 0, then that means we have to substitute a negative value for x. Okay, so if p of x equal to 0, that implies x has to be less than 0, right? So let's do the trial and error method. Let's put x equal to minus 1. Let's see how it works. Okay, if x is minus 1, what do we get? Minus 1 the whole cube is minus 1, plus 13 into 1 square is 1, okay, plus 32 into minus 1, so this becomes minus 32, and then you have plus 20. Now add this and find out whether we get 0 or not. 13 plus 20 is 33, minus 1 and minus 30, you get minus 33, so 33 minus 33 is 0, so that is correct. So p of x equal to 0, that means x equal to minus 1 is a root, is a solution. X equal to minus 1 is a root of this equation p of x equal to 0. That means x plus 1 is a factor, right? If x equal to minus 1 is a root, that means x plus 1 is one of the factors. So we got one of the factors. It's a cubic polynomial, so we need two more factors. Okay, now how do you find that two factors? Let's do the synthetic method of division to find the other two factors. Let's write down the coefficient of each of the terms of this polynomial. First we have the cubic term and the coefficient is 1, right? So 1, we write it here. Next is this x squared term, the coefficient is 13. The third one is the x term, the coefficient is 32. The last constant term is 20. So let's write it like this, and then let's do the synthetic division. How do we do that? We understood that x equal to minus 1 is one of the roots, right? So let's write minus 1 here. Now below this 1, you put 0. You add these two, 1 plus 0 is 1. Now you cross multiply these two, 1 into minus 1 is minus 1, you write it here below 13. Add these two, 13 minus 1 is 12. Again you cross multiply the 12 and the minus 1, you get minus 12. Add these two, 32 minus 12 is 20. Again you cross multiply 20 and minus 1, you get minus 20. Write it here. Add these two, you get 0. Okay, 0 means the remainder is 0. That means this happens to be the coefficient of the remaining factors. This is the quadratic factor, right? We have a linear factor here, that into this quadratic factor we will get this cubic polynomial. So this we can write as the factors as 1x squared plus 12x plus 20. That means x squared plus 12x plus 20. Now we need to factorize this particular polynomial. This is a quadratic polynomial or a second degree polynomial. How do we factorize that? Well, we need to look at the sum of the middle term. The sum is the middle term, the 12, and the product is 20, right? So we have two factors, two numbers, like something like x plus 1 or x plus 2, x plus 3 and x minus 1, right? So it will be the product of two such factors, two linear factors. Now those two numbers which come along with x, the middle term is the sum of those two numbers, 12. And the constant term is the product of those two numbers. Okay, so we have to find out two numbers whose sum or difference is 12 and the product is 20. Which are the two numbers that comes to your mind when you say product is 20? 10 and 2, right? and 10 and 2 when you add you get 12. So let's try that. X plus 10 and x plus 2. So x into x you get x square, x into 2 is 2x, 10 into x is 10x, and 10x plus 2x you get 12x. 10 times 2 is 20, so correct. So this happens to be the two factors, right? So when you look at the middle term and the product, you understand, you get a picture of, okay, what might be the factors, because sum of those two numbers will be the middle term and the product of those two numbers will be the constant term. Okay, so 20 means 10 and 2, 10 times 2 is 20, 10 plus 2 is 12 as well. So we understand the factors are x plus 10 and x plus 2, right? So the three factors are x plus 1, we already got it. So x plus 1 into x plus 10 into x plus 2, right? So this is how you factorize a cubic polynomial. So we start with the trial and error method, and then once we get that, then we do the synthetic method division. You find out the quadratic factor, then you factorize that and you find out the remaining factors.